Head out to Las Vegas as we continue to get ready for another fight night this weekend. And welcome back to the program, Eryk Anders. Eryk, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Not too bad. We appreciate your time. You know, I remember back in the day when the intro was former Alabama football player who now fights, and now it's the flip side. Now it's UFC fighter who once played NCAA at Bama. How good is it to kind of flip that a little bit?
Well, I think, things like that come with time. It's been, probably about 14 years since I played football, and I've been in the UFC the last 6 or 7 years. So I think it's just natural for the narrative to switch, especially, I'm going on like my 16th or 17th UFC fight, plus the fights I had before the UFC. So I think it's just like the natural progression of my career.
No, absolutely. Does it seem like it's been, in the teens? Like, literally, I remember just speaking to you. It was your first UFC fight, and now it's 7.5 years later. Does it feel like 7 years, or does it seem like just yesterday?
It really hasn't. It doesn't seem like 7 years. I'm a pretty active fighter. And then but I've had some, lulls, due to, surgery and injuries and things like that. So, it doesn't feel like 7 years because I really don't keep track of time. I don't even know what day, the number is. I just know it's Wednesday. I guess it's the 28th, but, it's just not really something I keep track of or remember to even think about.
So will you do anything special? I know it's fight week, and we're going to talk about that, but, tomorrow only comes once every 4 years. It's my son's anniversary on the 29th, so it's his first anniversary. He's been married 4 years. Will you do anything special on this such a unique day tomorrow?
No, I'll be cutting weight. I'll be sitting in a sauna in a hot tub while everybody else is,
doing whatever.
Right. Once every 4 year birthday or anniversary or whatever event they have got going on the leap year.
So Eryk, so this week Johnny Manziel went on to Shay Shay, the podcast. He spilled the beans on, all big college football programs have a money guy. Before the NIL was a thing, players were being paid for it. So obviously you missed out on the NIL era. Are you a fan of it? Do you like what college football's become? Players aren't redshirted anymore. Guys are jumping in the portal. Are you a fan of the new system, or would you like to see it the old way?
Nah, I think that they should be paid their worth, their value, just like they are in the NFL, But the problem is the transfer portal. The transfer portal is really what ruined football because now if I have a bad game or the coach yells at me or I don't get the playing time I feel like I deserve or whatever the reason, kids can just transfer as, with no penalty. And I think one of the big premises behind playing sports is for a coach to teach you how to be a man and be accountable, and instead of just quitting, walking away, going somewhere else for more money, you have to battle through adversity, earn your starting spot back, things like that. So should they get paid? Absolutely. Should they be able to just transfer whenever they want for whatever reason they want? I don't think so because how does that teach you accountability? How does that teach you how to persevere? How does that teach you to be strong? It kind of babies you, and I don't think that's a great thing for when these kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. This is when they are becoming a man and kind of learning who they are. The point in their life where they are going to meet adversity. They're 5-star. The dude behind them's 5-star coming out of high school. So, because I'm 5-star, I should play. No, that ain't it. You're supposed to earn it. You know what I mean? So, not a fan of the transfer portal, but yeah, they should be getting paid.
My biggest thing about the transfer is I know players that have transferred 3 times. They're going into their 4th transfer. So like you're saying, Eryk, it doesn't go good here, I'm going to try someplace else. And then I don't get my way there, I'm going to try again. And to me, that's kind of crazy. Going back to something that you said a minute ago about you don't have time, you're doing so many things. You just had a grappling match. I understand, I didn't know until this morning, that you did an episode of Cobra Kai with my good friend Billy Zabka. Talk to us about that experience.
It's great. I think that, for me, like, I kind of realized, like, you're not really necessarily going to get rich fighting for the UFC unless you're, like, in that McGregor, Masvidal, like, Nate Diaz, upper echelon. But what you can do is use, like, the brand of the UFC to launch something else, like the next venture that you're going to do. That's really the only reason why I got that part in Cobra Kai, because I fought in the UFC. And, so, maybe that leads to something else, or, and try this and try that, and let I fight the UFC and the brand of the UFC, let that kind of, like, open doors for me, and then it's up to me to, like, walk through and say, okay, I like that, I can pursue that, or I don't like it, maybe try something else and do something else. So I'm just trying to stay busy and, see what the future holds.
And open as many doors. And, I remember I was talking to Kyle Petty once, and we were talking about his last name. And he said, don't kid yourself. Having the last name Petty opens doors. Having that UFC logo opens doors. But Kyle Petty said, once the door's open, if my talent isn't there, the door's open, now it's shut. So, yeah, it may open, but, now you get to go and take advantage of these things. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's up to you to, like, I don't think anything's, like, handed out. Like, yeah, you can cut to the front of the line, but at the same time, if you suck, like, go find somebody else, because at the end of the day, like, it's about money, it's about entertainment, it's about how they can maximize their audience and things like that. So that's why they bring guys like Tyron Woodley, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson into things, because it's like a cross-branding thing. The UFC fighter and that guy who actually fights in real life is now in a show about fighting, so it kind of like adds legitimacy and things like that, and kind of cross brands and things like that. And I think the fighter, like myself, Wonderboy, and Woodley, Woodley's done a good job with that. He's been doing a bunch of stuff. And Jay Haran, he's another guy. He's in that McGregor movie, the remake, Roadhouse.
Right.
Yeah. So I think he was a UFC fighter. So I think it just opens up a lot of doors, and then it's up to you to make it happen and pursue it.
Former UFC fighter Frank Trigg, I don't know if you're familiar with him, back in the early days, he does a lot of stuff, Hawaii 5-0, all that kind of stuff. So, I didn't see the episode, so tell me a little bit about it. And were you with Ralph, or were you with Billy?
I was with Billy. I fought Billy, and he cheated, and he beat me. But, I was winning up until that point.
Well, that's how the original Karate Kid started, because Ralph cheated. That was an illegal strike when he kicked Billy to the face, right?
Yeah. I think in those original Karate Kid movies, they make Billy Zapka out to be the bad guy, but it's Ralph who's the asshole.
Exactly.
So, what I mean? Like he ran up on his old lady. He did the illegal strike. So I think that the perception of Karate Kid is that Ralph is the good guy, and William Zapka is the bad guy. But I think it's the other way around. Dude, try to steal my girl, we got a problem. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that was the first series. When Series 1 came out, that's what they were showing. That it was Ralph. Ralph wasn't the goody two shoes that you were led to believe in the movie.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was just a great experience. Hopefully it opens more doors. I really enjoyed it. I have a newfound respect for actors. I thought they were all just kind of bougie and babies and whatnot. But man, the minute and a half that I was in the show, dude, that's like 24 hours, 2 12-hour days of filming over and 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 over. And just when you think you got it right, they make you do it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then they move the cameras to the other side so that they can get all the angles and things like that. And so I couldn't imagine doing that day in, day out over decades. You know what I mean?
Take that, to what you're doing now, and even the football. We do a weekly football show here in the Tampa Bay area as well, and fans don't, and not that they need to understand, but they have no clue what you guys do all week long. I've had fans at some of these players' show, like, what do you do during the week? We practice, we get ready for Sunday. We don't just walk in on Sunday and go, play a football game. You don't just show up at the Apex on Saturday and fight, and you haven't trained, for 8 weeks or 8 years to get ready for Saturday night, and I think fans forget all that.
Yeah, a lot of time, effort, and energy goes into that. Goes into a fight, whether you take it on short notice or whether you have a full training camp or whatever. There's a lot of time away from the family, and, a lot of missed games, practices, things like that. And, a lot of wear and tear on the body, a lot of, training, hours here, hours there, training, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, cardio, strength and conditioning. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into the sport that I think that's like the appealing thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people wish that they had the courage to go in there and fight somebody else who trained for this, but they're not willing to do all that stuff behind the scenes, let alone actually go in there on TV in a enclosed environment. There's no escape. So you're not getting out of this. So you can't call the police. No one's going to break it up.
Right.
And go in there and fight somebody. So I think, as a fan, that's like the intriguing part of it. It's like, man, I can't believe these guys are going to go in there with essentially a leather sock wrapped around their hand and punch each other or wrestle each other and try to choke each other till someone gets knocked out, gives up, or they run out of time.
So Eryk, you see these actors, Jake Gyllenhaal got in incredible shape condition-wise for Roadhouse. Chris Helmsworth and his roles, and the list goes on and on. Zac Efron. You're a guy that always comes conditioned to fight. So what tips out there for anybody that's trying to lose some weight or get healthy? What are your secrets or go-to to cut those last couple pounds in fight week?
Diet and exercise. The way I cut weight and the way a normal person trying to lose weight should not be the same thing. I walk around at 225, 230, but my diet is trash. You know what I mean? I clean up my diet. I do more strength and conditioning. I do more cardio. I train with more intention and intensity, and that's when you see the abs and stuff come out. It's work and it's discipline. A lot of people lack that, and so they always I tell them I cut 10, 15 pounds overnight in water, and they're like, oh, teach me how to do that. And I'm just like, that ain't the way that you want to do it, because as soon as you take a sip of water, you're going to put that weight back on. If you're trying to lose weight, it's an overtime thing. It's not overnight. And so you can just see the eyes light up. It's like, oh, I can lose 10, 15 pounds overnight. But then I tell them that, and their whole demeanor changes. They're no longer interested because
it's work.
who doesn't want a cheeseburger? Who doesn't want a beer? Who doesn't want to eat pizza? Who doesn't want to eat fries and greasy food and fried chicken and things like that? Of course they do. But if they really wanted to lose weight, then you have to cut all that stuff out, because you can't outwork a bad diet. I train a lot. I train religiously, and when I don't diet right, my weight goes way up. But then as soon as I start dieting and eating right, over time, my body transforms and things like that. So if you're not willing to put in the work over time, of course you're not going to see no results.
So Eryk, I'm just going to chime in real quick. So I invented the pizza diet, and I became a pro bodybuilder eating nothing but pizza. But it was all science. I tracked macronutrients. It was extremely disciplined. 4 months, nothing but pizza. So so take all those things that you said earlier, and just keep the pizza in the diet, though.
But what kind of pizza? Are you rolling your own pizza? Surely you're not eating Pizza Hut pizza.
So originally I did it with Everybody's Pizza. It was just random New York style. The last time I did the diet, it was more whole wheat, low carb, flax and millet, grain free. And right now I'm experimenting with a red lentil bean pizza crust. So I puree it, I par bake it, and then I make the pizza.
Okay, well that's way different than the greasy
for sure.
stuff that comes out of out of Pizza Hut. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't have a healthy pizza. You know what I'm saying? But who's gonna do that?
Well, that's the key. Yeah, you got to make it taste good. You got to make it accessible, make it affordable, and then show people how to incorporate it into their lifestyle for sure.
Eryk, before we run out of time, let's real quickly talk about Saturday night back in the Octagon main event on the prelim against Jamie Pickett. Give me your thoughts on Jamie.
Big, strong guy, athletic. I know he's on he's 1-4 in his last 5, but man, he's fought some good guys. So I'm definitely not somebody I'm taking lightly, and it's somebody I got going there and impose my will. And I think if Eryk Anders just shows up, it's not an easy night, but I'm able to get the job done. So I just need to be consistent and go out there and dominate the fight.
When you or your team gets the phone call, hey, this is what we'd like, are you available against this opponent? How much do you look into that? You mentioned Jamie in, his last couple fights. And when you see that, is it something you have to block out and ignore?
Yeah, I would imagine that, I'm going to get the best version of Jamie Pickett. You know what I mean? So he's going to get the best version of me. So we're going to go out there and meet in the middle and see what's up. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not taking him lightly. As far as I'm concerned, this is Adesanya I'm fighting. So I got to go out there and do me and go get this dub. I'll take it from him, take lunch money and not, let him hang around and stay in the fight.
Right.